this business allows us to very quickly generate income. Even if you do not want a full-blown business just to make mortgage payment or just to get by, you'll have that. Plus, my personal goal is to replace my job.
For those who just starting to watch, I have Mohammad here. Mohammad has been with Business Lending Blueprint for a while. He's been in my inner circle. He's very active. He has a full-time job and a growing family. He travels. He has a lot of hobbies, but at the same time, growing this business. So we thought it'd be a good idea for us to have a chat for you guys to see what a business look like for someone who's already busy. He's a high performing individual in his specialty, but adding lending and growing the lending business either as a backup or it could be a transition, but you always want to keep your options open, right? A lot is changing in the job market. Mohammed is a consultant. I've closely known him over the years, very ambitious. So I wanted to have a chat with him so you guys can see a different perspective of how different people are building this business other than my perspective. So Mohammed, good to have you here, brother.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
So walk me through, I guess, because your industry is not even related to lending, right? What you do is like totally different. How did you make the decision, I guess? How did you make the connection that you want to be in an industry like this?
I think I came across one of your ads, and you mentioned something that was absolutely true, which was this is a business model that's recession proof. And what we have seen throughout COVID, and even me being in the software engineering side, AI implementation, so whatnot, right? A lot of people are being let go. Thousands, pretty much no employer safe at the moment. And we have seen that during COVID as well, right? So that was one of the reasons that piqued my interest. And before this, before getting to lending, I was doing marketing agency, doing building websites for people, doing SEO, so whatnot. One of the main things was like, hey, it sounds great. I love that you're teaching me. That was one of the models. I would teach people how to do it. And if they liked what I was teaching, and then they would join on board. They liked what I was pitching to them, but everybody says, hey, I don't have the funding for it, right?
Yeah.
To come back within 6 months or whatnot. So that kind of was the starting point. Like, how can I get funding, right? That was the missing gap in my business.
Mm-hmm.
I realized that, this has so much potential, and the way that you have laid out, made it so easy for me, right? And not just for me, like for everybody else that joins Business Lending Blueprint, is that, you provide the website, you have a whole team to kind of walk us through the business, the products, because I was new to pretty much everything.
Yeah.
Right? Even though, like, I had some ideas on what some of those products were, because I've taken loans before, but not in this depth.
Yeah, no, I'm glad you mentioned that because the industry already existed even before me, right? But the goal is to kind of level the playing field and give the average ambitious person a chance because, I used to work with the bankers, the loan officers, and things like that. It required an extensive licensing period. And even after that, it wasn't solving the problems for the business owners, small businesses. Similar to you, that's how I came across. I was selling machines that the cost was like 10, 15, 20,000, these POS systems. And then it wasn't like there was no demand for it. Like the restaurant owners, they're already on a thin margin. They just didn't have the money. And, normally logical approach is, yeah, go to the bank and get the money. And even businesses with substantial size would having massive difficulty. And not only the difficulty of getting funding and the time it takes was a problem, right? Because I don't think that you can create demand for something. Demand exists, but people don't know how to go about it. Like the demand for money always existed for centuries, right? But there were players who control that market. And it started operating at the elite level only, right? The average person didn't understand how credit worked, how funding worked. Even to this day, most people in the US don't even understand how credit scores work, how they can impact it, let alone using it to get access to funding. And then when I saw this industry, there was only like one product that I knew of, which was like merchant cash advance, which is a good product for certain people, a totally bad product for other people, right? I said, okay, there's got to be more. And over time, we strategically kept adding different funding options that caters to different types of businesses from startup. And that's the point that you joined. We still had the technology platform, but not to this extent. You and I were chatting about it in the beginning of our discussion, right? So my goal as the founder is to solve problems for people who want to make a career out of this, even if they don't have any background in this, because this industry helped me build this when I didn't have any background in this. I didn't come from the financial services. I was selling payroll, credit card processing, and you're from the software industry, totally unrelated, but you're kind of dipping your toes into like digital marketing because that was a transformation back then, right? Everyone was interested in updating their website, Web 2.0, SEO and things like that. Even that was like a massive knowledge gap, if you remember, because I used to have an agency too. Like people needed a brand new website, they just didn't know who could fix it. And third of all, they didn't have a baseline as to how much it should cost. And then when they find out the cost, well, they don't know how to finance it properly, right? So, like, you ideally don't want to touch your cash flow, like, because rich people use financing all the time. But the middle to lower income are constantly trained on how bad the debt is, like all kind of debt. I know if you don't have the financial discipline, debt is pretty bad. But if you use it as a stepping stone to grow something, that's one of the easiest ways to grow businesses, right? And funding comes into play. And I think you were able to put the two and two together, saying that, yeah, my job is, you have a really well-paying job, you've been consistent, and you have a lot of things going on. However, with all the developments, things can flip upside down overnight. And I've seen that happen to people, like very stable, successful jobs. And then when you look at like your area, software engineering, where do you see that going? Like people with a lot of secure jobs, someone like you, you're smart, you're educated and all of that, but that fear on the back of your mind starts eating into your brain, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Like I currently, I'm still employed, thankfully. But even within my company, there has been like over 600 people let go. It's the initial one that was hired within my team. I think like third person out of the team of what, like 300 people plus people within my team alone. And then overall, like 600 people throughout the entire company was let go. So that fear is there, right?
Yeah,
We got bills to pay and whatnot. So this business allows us to very quickly generate income. Even if you do not want a full-blown business just to make mortgage payment or just to get by, you'll have that. Plus, my personal goal is to replace my job. And that is,
sure.
leaning towards, I've been very business mindset, trying to look for business opportunities from a very young age. So this works really well for me because I'm a problem solver naturally.
Yeah.
And, I think this solves a big problem that people have.
Hi there. If you're enjoying this video so far, there are two ways that you can get more out of it. One is if you like this video and subscribe to this channel, you're going to get access to a lot more content like this. And number two is there's a link right below this video for you to get more information and schedule a call with our expert team to find out if becoming a business loan broker is the right fit for you. Now, back to the video. That's awesome. And one question people usually have is when I go and how am I going to find customers who can help me get customers and things like that. And about a year and a half ago, I made a huge emphasis on referral partners, right? So like leads are everywhere, obviously. But if you're just starting this, you might run into an authority issue, meaning that, no one knows who you are. And then we want to generate leads and fund deals, which is certainly doable. But where we kind of unlock the potential on this business is using referral partners. Like loan brokers is a very small fraction of the market. Like most people do not even know that we exist, right? However, our product demand exists and it's been growing in triple digits every single year. And we don't control that. It is just happening, right? One of the easiest ways is to partner with people who have our customers. Those could be, bankers and accountants. So walk me through how you're structuring your business as a busy individual with family and kids, and you have other obligations, real estate investments and things like that. So why did that resonate with you and how you're using that as a lever to grow the business now?
Yeah, like what I believe in is like shouting from the rooftop, like let
Yeah,
everybody know what you're doing, right? I think a lot of people have that mindset like, oh, I will be judged and whatnot. You'll be judged regardless. Might as well be paid for it, right?
yeah, yeah.
So my strategies have been just, going to a lot of networking groups. And just like you said, like a lot of people do not know that we exist, right? Whenever I'm going to local networking groups, there is no loan brokers.
No,
I'm the only one, right?
yeah.
There are bank managers, bankers that are there, right? That are, pitching their products and whatnot, but no one is there saying, hey, I could get you funded, within 2 days,
Yeah.
right? Or even a week, right? So
Yeah,
yeah.
that's huge. And through the networking, you said something really, really important. I think we're overly concerned about what other people would say. What I would say is most people are not thinking about you, honestly. Like that's a lot of that is in your head. And if you want to do something different than most people, you got to kind of bite the bullet, right? So whenever you're on the radar, most people live under the radar, so they don't get any criticism. Whenever you do something different, it comes with the territory, right? Some people are going to say stuff. That's when you have to make a decision as to, am I going to live an average life or I really want to live in the top 5%, 1%, whatever your goal is. But that comes with the caveat of not giving a crap about what anyone else says. As long as you're convinced that you're going to live a different life, you just got to be okay with it. And usually you get criticism when you do things that are outside of the norm. And this is for people who really want to build big businesses, right? Because, other people's opinion of you usually comes from their lack, right? It's a reflection of what they think they lack, and someone else has it. And since it kind of destroys that belief of, I don't control my life, because they look at Muhammad, well, we came from the same country, for example. Muhammad is like going forward. What do I do about it? Either I bite the bullet and become like him, or I can tell him, hey, I don't think he's going to be successful. Hey, man, the thing that you're doing right now, do you think it's going to work out? Is that really real? These like, good intentions technically, but they try to pull you down. And sometimes it comes from the people that's closest to you, right? I experienced this personally too. Know that it's not about you, it is about them, right? So you're making other people feel like they're not enough, and you got to be okay with that. And they're not really spending a whole lot of time thinking about you. That's, you are the one thinking about what other people will think about you, but most people, they have their own lives going on. So if you just kind of embed it in your brain that that doesn't exist, things become a lot easier. Like, you've been to many of my inner circle meetings. I keep telling people, go out there, talk to people. Yeah, but I don't know what to say. We give the script. The next thing is, how do I say this? That's not because these grown adults don't know how to say it. It just comes with the fear of making a mistake. And in their mind, they might think that I'm going to make a fool of myself. That's not how it works, right? Your first time is not going to be your best time, but that's how you learn something. Like when you're a kid, when you're trying to walk, how many times have you fallen? We don't even know. Thousands of times, right? But as we grow adults, our ego kind of grows too, and we add titles to it: school and education, the title of being a father, the husband and spouse and whatever. Then we feel like, oh, if you do something, we're going to get embarrassed. That's honestly how you keep your entire family behind. Like, you cannot accept the current standards. You got to just keep evolving. That's why I love what you do. You came in and, you're really serious about doing this, and you didn't let anything hold you back, because, I mean, you could have used so many excuses. I have a growing family. I already have a well-paying job, blah, blah, blah. But you said, no, all of this could be gone like pretty fast. And you've seen it in your life to happen to people. I've seen it in my life plenty of time. It does happen. What are we doing? Right. So we have a good amount of time to take advantage of this. And tying it back to the referral partners, most people, like these people, like accountants, bookkeepers, and financial advisors, salespeople, they have no intention of doing what we do, but they come across people all day long who need funding. They just want to have a reliable partner, right? If you just become that partner, that solves your lead generation problem for good. When you reach a critical mass, I call it, like if you have good 5 to 10 partners, referring partners, that takes care of your lead generation for a long time. You don't need hundreds of people. Obviously, our goal is to keep adding people, but those relationships go a lifetime.